Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew, man? We're back. We got a new Mr. Ballin'. We got dinner? Canada's Buffalo Bill. And the most disturbing blog I have. At this point, I don't even know where Ballin' going with these titles no more. Alright. Just list it out for you, huh? But hey, with that being said, before we get into it today, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go. If you want to first support, all you got to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visual,
locking it with a thumbs up.
Always, man. Always. But hey, let's go. Let's check it out. Let's see what's about. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, got to get the notes ready. Also, for those who, what are you writing? Just name date, bro. Just name's date. For all the nosies out there. What is the word for the word that have nosy people, right?
Right.
Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And today we're going to look at 3 stories that demonstrate that. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please take the like button out on a fancy scuba diving trip, but replace the air in their tanks with helium. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's stories. On the evening of March 27, 2013, a 45-year-old doctor named Marcelo Gurruchaga dug through a supply cabinet in the clinic that he owned in southeastern Spain. He grabbed an IV needle, anesthetic drugs, and a scalpel, and then he walked to the operating room in the back of the clinic, where his patient was already lying on the table. And as Marcelo looked at his patient, he couldn't help but feel incredibly anxious. This was easily going to be the most important and most dangerous surgery he had ever done. In fact, this surgery was illegal, and one wrong move here could not only harm his patient, but could also destroy his life. I mean, he could lose his medical license, he could be arrested. I mean, this was a very high-stakes operation. But Marcelo felt like he really had no choice here, because he had this huge problem going on in his personal life, and he had been promised that if he did this surgery successfully, that problem would be solved. His hands shook as he gave his patient the IV, and then he began administering the anesthetic drugs. Soon, his patient was unconscious. And then, after a steadying breath, Marcelo picked up the scalpel and then made his first incision. A little over a week later, on April 5th, 2013, a very disheveled and distraught Marcelo walked into a local police station carrying a small cardboard box. Once he was inside, he told the clerk that he had to speak to an officer because he needed to make a confession. A moment later, a detective came out, and right away Marcelo began crying, and he told this detective this unbelievable story. And as he did, the detective just felt really bad for Marcelo. I mean, this story was so tragic, so awful. But as Marcelo went along and the details of the story began kind of going all over the place, the detective went from feeling empathy to confusion to full-blown suspicion of Marcelo. Something was off here. And so at some point, when Marcelo finally went quiet and he was just standing there holding this box, the detective looked at him and said, "Hey, what's in that box?" And when Marcelo reached down and slowly opened it up, the detective immediately knew 2 things. 1, Marcelo was definitely lying. And 2, this whole situation was far more serious than this detective had imagined. It would turn out the big personal problem that Marcelo was experiencing, that supposedly this high-stakes illegal surgery was going to alleviate, had to do with his wife, Rosa. Rosa was deeply unhappy, specifically about her weight. She felt like she was overweight. And so she had given her husband, Marcelo, the doctor, an ultimatum. She said, "You need to perform a weight loss surgery on me, or I'm going to take my own life." And Marcelo knew this was no idle threat, because his wife, Rosa, had previously attempted to end her life before. And so ultimately, Marcelo agrees to do...
She looked like a doctor too, didn't she? Or she just got scrubs on?
No, she said, you need to perform
My
a
bad.
weight loss
Oh, sounds-
surgery on me, or I'm going to take my own life. And Marcelo knew this was no idle threat, because his wife, Rosa, had previously attempted to end her life before. And so ultimately, Marcelo agrees to do this illegal operation. But this operation was illegal not because Marcelo was not like a weight loss doctor. No, it was illegal because Marcelo was an animal doctor. He was a
Oh my
veterinarian,
gosh.
not a human doctor. And so Marcelo really had no idea how to perform this weight loss surgery. And so as soon as he made that first incision on his wife, the surgery went completely sideways and Rosa died on the operating table. And when that happened, Marcelo panicked and immediately dismembered his wife's body and cremated her in an attempt to cover up what he had just done. However, over the next week, Marcelo felt so guilty about what he did that he ultimately went to the police and he confessed. However, at first, during this confession, Marcelo told the detective that his wife had died because she had taken her own life. And when the detective began asking probing questions about how she died exactly and when this happened, he began getting answers that didn't really make any sense. And so ultimately, he asked Marcelo to please show him what's inside of that box he's carrying. So Marcelo opened it up, revealing Rosa's ashes. And that told the detective that Marcelo had to be lying because he's thinking, wait a minute, if your wife took her own life a week ago, why did Marcelo immediately cremate her and hide the fact that she had been dead for a whole week? It didn't add up. Ultimately, Marcelo would be charged with his wife's murder, but he would spend 4 years in prison awaiting trial. And then when he went to trial, he was found guilty and sentenced to an additional 10 years in prison.
I ain't gonna hold you in this situation personally, Marcelo. I don't think you did the right choice. What about you?
What do you mean? What you talking about?
For one, personally, I'm not that type of surgeon. Two, at the end of the day, still sounded like she possibly still knew that he wasn't gonna be able to fulfill it, and she was gonna die anyway, right? Mm-hmm. She already had contemplated taking, you know what I'm saying, self-eliminating anyway. I'm not gonna, because also I'm going to jail behind it.
Yeah.
I'm not finna risk my freedom just because of a situation like this.
Yeah.
Not gonna back me into a corner and be like, either you do this.
True.
I'm not gonna contribute and get myself into some bullshit. I understand.
No, I agree with that part. I agree with that.
I understand we married and all that, but you got me. You gone. Who gonna have to deal with it? Me.
Yeah.
And this, cause that, to me, that's more selfish.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It is selfish to even give me like
An
hey,
ultimatum.
Yeah, that was the ultimatum. So
Man, you got me fucked up, bro. She was just, cause come on now, you knew. Cause like I said, she looks like she's in the medical field too, right? Mm-hmm. So 9 times out of 10, she knew he wasn't gonna be able to perform that.
and it's sad all around because it's like, she's sad or unhappy and and then he having to like, okay, well, I just want to make my wife happy. Let me just do, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just sad all around. I don't know. It's just
now
sad.
I got to deal with the fact that I'm mourning because you're gone, but also you're gone because of the hands of me.
Yeah.
Then now I gotta go. I'm finna do 14 years in prison. I'm not built for prison, so now I got, man, bro, you got me fucked. You have to do that shit your damn self, bro.
On a late winter afternoon in 1985, a Canadian border security guard stood at the border between New York State and Ontario, Canada. And as he looked out at the dozens of cars lined up at his checkpoint, he felt an enormous amount of responsibility. Because for him, working at border security was not just about checking people's passports. It was also about making sure dangerous criminals from the United States did not flee their country and enter Canada. And today, there was one particular dangerous criminal from the United States that this guard was on high alert for. A 30-year-old man named Alex Mangle. A few days earlier, Alex Mangle had been stopped by a police officer near New York City. And during this traffic stop, Alex had somehow taken the police officer's gun and shot the officer in the head, killing them, and then Alex had fled, and he was still on the run. And so now law enforcement was concerned that because New York was only 6 hours from the Canadian border, that it was very possible that Alex might try to flee into Canada to escape persecution. And so US and Canadian law enforcement and border security were on the lookout for Alex Mangle. And he was this 30-year-old white man with thinning brown hair and a wispy mustache. And so all day long, that Canadian border security guard looked very closely at every person who came through his checkpoint to see if they were Alex Mangle. He would see a family on their way to visit relatives in Canada. He would see a couple on their honeymoon. He would see a man with a car full of camping supplies and a middle-aged woman traveling alone, and all these different people from all walks of life, but none of them looked anything like Alex Mangle. And so by the end of his shift, after checking dozens and dozens of cars and looking at every person, he felt certain that Alex Mangle had not slipped through his checkpoint. And so he clocked out and he went home. A few days later, on March 2nd, a police officer was patrolling this parking lot right outside of a shopping mall in Ontario, Canada, which was located about an hour and a half away from the border. And during his patrol, at some point, he noticed there was this one car, a white Toyota, that had been loitering in the area for quite a while. And so he decided to drive over and see what was going on. And when he got there, he looked inside the vehicle and he saw someone sitting on the passenger seat. And he was a white man, probably in his 30s, with thinning brown hair and a wispy mustache. And this officer immediately recognized this guy as being the wanted criminal, Alex Mangle. And so the officer immediately called for backup, and then he parked his car, got out, and approached the white Toyota where this guy was sitting with his gun drawn. And as the officer approached the passenger side door, the man inside turned, noticed the officer, jumped into the driver's seat, fired up the car, and the Toyota sped out of the parking lot. And so the officer, he jumps back in his cruiser and he takes off after him. And before long, it was like the entirety of the police force in Toronto was a part of this high-speed chase to catch this guy. And eventually they funneled the car into a dead-end street, and the white Toyota crashed into a stop sign, and then the man inside with the mustache and the thinning brown hair pops out, and immediately everybody sees, yep, that's Alex Mangle. He didn't put up a fight at that point. He was taken into custody. However, despite how relieved law enforcement was to have this cop killer in custody, they realized they didn't understand something. How was it that Alex Mangle got past border security and got into Canada?
What you keep shaking your head for? Cause that's all.
No, because I was like, dang, like that's how, because of just the title of the story. The title of the story was The Woman in the Wrinkled Dress.
Oh.
How was it that Alex Mangle got past border security and got into Canada? Everybody was on high alert looking for him. What happened? And so police were baffled until they searched that white Toyota Alex had been driving. On the night that Alex shot and killed that police officer near New York City, he immediately fled to this wooded area and hid out overnight. And then the next day, when he got up, he was walking around and he happened to pass by this commercial building. And as he was looking at it, he saw this middle-aged woman, whose name was Beverly Capone, come out of the building and make her way towards her car. And she was all alone. And so Alex walked up to her and abducted her at gunpoint, and then he drove her to this cabin out in the woods that he knew would be totally isolated, no one was there. And once they got there, he murdered her, and then once she was dead, he stole her clothes and put it on, and also cut off her face and her scalp, and put those on as well. He was literally wearing her skin and hair. And he hopped in that white Toyota, and he drove up to the Canadian border, and amazingly, he got through the checkpoint into Canada without anybody noticing. It would turn out that Canadian border security guard, who all day was checking for Alex Mangle, did actually see Alex Mangle. He just didn't recognize him because Alex Mangle was wearing Beverly Capone's face, hair, and clothes. And so he thought he was just a middle-aged woman traveling alone, and he let him on through. And so police would figure this whole thing out when they searched that white Toyota, because they would find, lying on the floorboard, was Beverly's dress, scalp, and face. Alex was deported back to the US. However, before he could stand trial, he attempted to escape a prison transport, and in the process got shot to death by police. However, that was not the end of Alex's story. Following his death, officers continued to investigate him and also his property, and at some point during a search of his property, they would discover all these photos of unidentified women, along with these maps where these very isolated places in New York and Pennsylvania were circled. and nobody knows what they mean. Now, police have not conclusively linked Alex to any other murders, but he does remain a suspect in several cases, and in fact, many investigators believe Alex was actually a serial killer. However, we'll probably never know how many people Alex actually killed because he took all of his secrets to the grave.
Wow.
That's why he wasn't going to jail.
Wow. Now, I didn't think it was, oh gosh, I didn't think it was that. I'm just thinking maybe he dressed up as a woman and did something. And
Nah.
well, I mean, he dressed, but that's sick, like the way he went about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
where her face?
Like you literally.
Because I was like, he still got on his mustache, so how he didn't get spotted?
I have no clue. But then when he said that, I wasn't thinking that. My brain doesn't go there.
Nah.
That's sick.
And the reason why he killed the police officer, he probably thought the police officer suspected him or something. He's a serial.
Also,
that's the reason why he killed Gary. And why he shot the police officer. And then he got in a panic, knew, damn, I done killed the police officer. And that's the reason why he had no problem with killing Beverly. Because he done it several times before.
Right. And I understand y'all said y'all can't or haven't or didn't link him to any, like, you know, but with all the pictures, did y'all like match those pictures and see if these people
missing persons
like are missing, were they reported missing? Have you got in contact with them to see if they actually are still, you know, alive and stuff like that?
Because I'm sure if he got photos, he got names.
Or was these like potential
or anything that could locate who they were to some degree.
Yeah.
He just don't have photos. Like
right,
he would have
you know what I'm saying? Like
to let
it's
y'all
a reason.
Yeah.
So I just wondered.
That's scary, bro.
Very.
30, bro. At 30. But a lot of them do be around
They start young.
A lot of them do be around that age, though.
They start young,
that's how,
bro.
around the age Jeffrey was. That's around the age was Ted. The only one, like John one that he was older when he got caught. But it's so many, bro.
Yeah.
So many serials around this mug.
That's sad.
All right, let's go. Damn. I might have to... Never mind.
Do you?
At 5 p.m. on May 12, 2005, an 18-year-old college student named Simon Eng sat inside of his bedroom in the apartment he shared with his sister Sharon in New York City. Simon was supposed to be doing homework, but instead, he was doing something he loved, which was blogging. Simon would write on his blog just about every single day, and he typically wrote about his self-improvement journey he was on. Not because he thought lots of people were going to read it and be inspired by it, but because he kind of wanted to chronicle his journey so that in the future, when he was the best version of himself, he could look back and sort of see how far he had come, to see the progress he made. But on this particular day, Simon was not writing about self-improvement. Instead, he was blogging about something that was totally unusual for him. In fact, he had never written anything like this on his blog ever before. But Simon knew basically nobody read his blog, and so he wasn't really that concerned about writing something so off topic. And so at about 5:05 p.m., when he was done with this very strange blog post, he didn't think twice. He just hit post. 5 hours later, at about 10 p.m., an NYPD detective, along with some other police officers and first responders, arrived at Simon and Sharon's apartment. They went inside and went straight to Simon's bedroom, and there they would find Simon. He was laying perfectly still on the ground, his feet were bound by duct tape, and he was covered in stab wounds.
What?
They rushed up to him to feel for a pulse, but very quickly they discovered he was dead. And then before they could even process what had happened here, they heard moaning coming from the other bedroom across the hall. And so they rushed in there, and they would discover Simon's sister, Sharon. She also was covered in stab wounds and laying on the ground, but she was still alive. And so they tried to rush her to the hospital to try to save her life, but in transit, she would die. And she would also die before she could actually tell authorities what happened to her and her brother. For the next 3 days, investigators could not make sense of Simon and Sharon's murders. But then a detective discovered Simon's blog, and they found his final entry. And it was that very unusual post that Simon did that was not anything to do with his self-improvement journey. Well, it would turn out that last post broke the case wide open. Right before Simon was killed, He wrote in his blog about what was actually happening in his apartment, like in real time, literally what he was seeing and hearing. Here is a screenshot of that blog post.
Can't see none of the words.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
Today I missed my Japanese class again since I have gotten a bad throat. I only went to the class once this week, so I am probably so far behind now. I will catch up in the summer, though, so no worries, hee hee. Anyway, today has been weird. At 3, some guy rang the bell. I went down and recognized it was my sister's former boyfriend.
Okay.
He told me he wants to get his fishing poles back. I told him to wait downstairs while I get them for him. While I was searching,
I can see if I.
while I was searching them, he is already in the house. He is still here right now, smoking, walking all around the house with his shoes on. Which, by the way, I just washed the floor 2 days ago. Okay. Hopefully, he will leave soon. Oh yeah, working on the Jap report as we speak. I don't know why I was about to say Gap. Oh, that was this one.
Yeah.
It says, quote, "Today has been weird. At 3, some guy ringed the bell.
I didn't expect
it was my sister's
my bad.
former boyfriend. He is still here right now. Hopefully, he will leave soon." Sharon's former boyfriend was a man named Jin Chung Lin. And a year earlier, he and Sharon had gone through a really rocky breakup. Now, Sharon had moved on and kind of gotten over the breakup, but Jin hadn't. He was still furious about the way things ended. And so he ultimately went to Sharon and Simon's apartment to get revenge. And his revenge was murdering the brother and sister. When police confronted Jin with information from Simon's blog post, he immediately confessed to the murders. Jin was tried and found guilty of the murders and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Today, Simon's blog is actually still available online, so you can go and see his final post. However, what you'll really see if you go to his blog is the thousands and thousands of comments from people all around the world hoping that Simon and Sharon rest in peace.
That's sad.
Sad.
Thank you.
That's sad going out the way y'all went out. And I wonder who he attacked first. Possibly attacked the brother because he was there already by himself. It seems like because he came in one of his fishing poles. So he possibly attacked him first, then waited till the sister got there, then attacked her because they were in separate locations, separate areas.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Because typically how you would go about it, you go after the man first. You disarm the man, which would be the biggest threat. And then you got,
That's awful, yeah.
But R.I.P. to Simon and...
Sharon.
Sharon. Simon and Sharon, R.I.P. to them, man.
Yeah.
To go out that way. Condolences to the family.
Yes.
Because I know that was devastating.
That's
because you got to think about it, finding out not one but both of your kids died tragically the way that they did. And it was oh my. And RP to Beverly and Gary, bro, the officer and the woman.
Yeah.
That was became tragic victims to what it seems to be a serial.
Yeah.
Cause that's the only thing I could take from it. That was a serial.
True.
They thought he was gonna get caught. They was gonna no, because we don't know the reason for the traffic stop.
Yeah.
We don't know the reason for Alex traffic stop. So, what was the motive? And for them, because when it happened back in 1985. Mm-hmm. So, what information were for reason why, and was he already suspected of something? And so, possibly, he knew they were on to him for something else, and that's the reason why he panicked.
Yeah.
Panicked, killed the officer, and went on a run.
True.
But unfortunately, Beverly had to become another one of his victims. Because, trust and believe, he had other victims.
Yeah.
That was just, unfortunately, 2 that we do know about. But he has other victims.
True.
And, to be honest, he probably tried to self-eliminate by
having
the cops do it.
One of those situations. And then the first story is sad too in itself.
Oh yeah, I didn't get
Rosa.
her name.
Her name was Rosa.
Rosa, yeah, I didn't write her name. R.I.P. to Rosa. But my heart does go out to Marcelo, because like I said I don't think I could have did that, bro.
Yeah.
If you want to take yourself, but don't have me going down with you. Cause
That's a tough situation.
That's on me, on my mind, on my like if I
My
knew how
conscience,
could I have saved her if I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So you get what I'm saying? But RIP to everyone, man.
Facts.
But hey, man, y'all spam us up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about it for us in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We out.
Peace.
Ain't no time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, 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 dollar.